Hey everyone, welcome to From the Depths. I'm Menti, and this is episode 179 of the Battleship Brawl's Season 3 tournament. This episode, we've got the Leviathan by Xander Zoof facing off against the Pedro Alvarez Cabral by Adnecrius in a league battle. This should be an interesting one, folks. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. It is important to note, though, that if the Pedro wins this match, it will be retiring into the Hall of Champions. So let's go ahead and find out what's going to happen. Get this battle underway. Leviathan aiming, the Pedro's secondary cannons firing first, followed by its main armament. The Leviathan answers back to Pedro's shots, missing widely. May have been aiming for the spawn stick. Seems like the Pedro took a hit, but it was a minor one. I don't even see where the actual damage is. Pedro taking some hits there, but seeming to be just fine. Not really bothered by them. Well, we'll take a look at the Leviathan. Has taken some big damage to the side here, but so far doing okay. It's got a bit of a list going on now. Probably because of the flooded compartments, but I'm not sure. The secondaries of the Pedro were detonating midair. Which looks cool, admittedly, but it doesn't exactly do anything to the Leviathan. Go ahead and check in here on the Pedro, see how it's doing. Ooh, one of its rear turrets is taking some serious damage. I don't think it's functional anymore. Oh, two of its rear turrets. I think this was just a secondary. Or was that a primary? I think that was a primary gun. Got knocked out there. Pedro down to 93%. Ooh, Leviathan down to 86%. It must have taken a pretty hefty hit when we moved away from it. Oh, its bow is just completely gone. That is a lot of blocks. But its weaponry is still functional. For the most part. And those secondaries got knocked out, and the front turrets have been damaged. The rear turrets, for now, are doing just fine. But, you know, now that I've mentioned it, a shell's, like, on the way to hit them. That was close. But not quite. Big hole in the deck and superstructure, but turret surviving for now. Pedro seems to be in the lead here just because the Leviathan is taking so much damage in this middle section. It seems like once its outer armor is gone, it doesn't have, it doesn't stand up to fire very well once the outer layer is stripped off. And this thing's been pretty much blown in half. There's only a little bit of blocks left for it. Oh, and that turret just took a heavy hit. No, that actually did a lot less damage than I thought it would. That turret is still functional. It was not as heavy as expected. Leviathan in some serious trouble here, though. It's going to have to score some hits on the Pedro's weaponry if it wants to catch back up. Leviathan is just barely clinging to life at this point. That ship is so badly damaged. It is a wreck of what it used to be. Whoops. Seems the Pedro's low freeboard is giving the Leviathan's weapons some trouble. Oh, that was just a straight up over-penetration. It over-penetrated through the superstructure. The explosion didn't really do much. Yeah, looks like we've got ourselves a new champion. It's not official yet, but I don't see any way that the Leviathan could come back and win this. They're too close together, and the Pedro is too maneuverable for a surprise disqualification to happen. Leviathan just seems to be completely out of functioning weaponry. Oh, that was a deflection. And that is it. The Leviathan is too damaged and going to despawn. So that is the end of this battle, folks, meaning the Pedro has reached 5 lives and will be joining the Hall of Champions. So congratulations, Xanderzu. Your vessel has made it. So I'll go ahead and do a quick cut here, and we'll go over the speed, maneuverability, armor, weapons, all that stuff of our newest champion. Okay, folks, here we are. This is the Pedro Alvarez Cabral by Xanderzu, our newest champion in Season 3 here. Got a whole bunch of rudders stacked back here, the flat there with a whole bunch of propellers, fantail to protect it. That's nice. But first off, let's go ahead and take a look at the speed this vessel does. It is not fast. It is, as far as this tournament goes, quite slow. At 10.5 meters per second, 10.7. Let's call it 11. Let's just round up, call it 11 meters per second. That's literally half the maximum speed. That is quite slow. It does, however, have a fairly decent turn radius. It's a little bit on the sluggish side. It takes a while for it to turn. Like the amount of time it takes to turn is pretty high, but the space it needs to do so is very low because of how slow it is. It actually goes it goes a lot slower when it's turning too. Wait, the propellers are off. Huh? There they go, they turn on. There must be, I bet you what? I bet you there's, I bet you the engines are set up to turn off when the vessel's pitch or roll gets too high to keep it from pushing itself under the water. I bet you what that is. That's what that is. It also helps its turn radius be a lot shorter. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't turn particularly fast, but it doesn't cover much ground while it's turning because it's so slow. Especially when the engines get turned off. So, kind of a slow, sluggish ship overall, to be honest. But let's go ahead and check out the armor scheme. There isn't really one. It's just wood with more wood. There's a couple layers of wood in some spots. Single layer metal around the turrets themselves, but extremely lightly armored, especially considering how slow it is. Very vulnerable to explosive damage. Like something like the Coastbuster. I forget if these two actually fought, but the Coastbuster would probably do some pretty significant damage to the Pedro. Like that would not be a fun fight for the Pedro, because it doesn't have the DPS to match the Coastbuster. I would put my money. Oh, this main gun actually has 3 layers of metal around it up here at the top, with some heavy armor on the neck. So really, I don't see the point in this heavy armor here, because like all that really does protects is explosion, like damage coming down from above. But if damage gets in here, it's blowing up these parts, which is disabling the gun anyway. Who cares if you saved this, you know? Who cares if this part of the gun survived when the shooty part's dead? Like, it can't, it's still disabled. So, I don't necessarily agree with those armor pieces being there. But it does have some heavy armor along the inside too, so it's got some pretty decent armor around its main guns. The main guns, the secondary guns only have, you know, single layer metal, but the main guns have 3 layers of metal and then heavy armor reinforcement. So they're pretty sturdy, except this one. This one does not have that. That's strange. All the other ones do, I guess, probably for cost purposes. Make the vessel under budget. Okay, also have metal around the engines. Personally, I probably would have foregone armoring the engines and just spread them out through the ship. I mean, you've got all this space, and I doubt you need all that engine power. Oh, you've got 2 sets of them. Oh, and this one actually has heavy armor around them too. Around the AI, sure, but let me see. Does this thing even use all of its engine power? It uses about half. Okay. So, yeah, personally, I probably would have put, like, an engine up here, an engine right in here, another one here, and, you know, kind of spread them out a bit, and then just left them unarmored. Because, like, this armor isn't going to do a whole lot to protect it. It'll do some, but it would have been more protected just by spacing it out, so that if one engine gets hit, since you're only using half the engine power anyway. But I get, you know, that's my 2 cents. Could have saved some of the, like, you could have saved some of those resources and then used it to armor that frontal turret, which is honestly more important to have armored. But anyway, got these secondary guns, minimum gauge, heavy explosive damage, 9.27 second reload, which is, you know, right about, excuse me, where shells of that caliber tend to fall. It's a little bit on the slower side. I think more like 8 seconds is about average, but definitely not a slow firing gun. Those will not tickle, but with how the guns are set up, only about 4 of them. Yeah, it looks like 4 of the guns will be able to fire on any one target broadside. Oh, this is kind of cool. What's this? That's kind of cool. How you got that diamond shape in the hull. I like that. I'm not sure what the point of it is, other than to look cool, but I don't know what it would be used for in an actual ship either, when I just noticed that this whole thing is flooded. Yes, I just now, after all this time, noticed that the entire thing was flooded. I'm totally observant, folks. Totally. Alright, let's go ahead and grab this turret. I'll zip over here and set up the weapon test platform. Which I made too low, but that's easy to fix. And there we go. Alright, so got the Pedro's turret here selected. Destroy that turret. That's a big old turret. How much does that cost? 17,000? That's not bad. That's fairly on the cheap side for a turret. Not sure. Cost per gun though. We'll see what kind of damage numbers these shells have. And we can't because they have a fuse that prevents me from doing so. So we'll have to instead kind of finagle it. Clear the barrels. Need to get in here. Come on, show me the numbers. What the heck? Here, we'll do this. There we go. Now I can see. So let me do it one more time, because I didn't quite see everything. So about 9,000 kinetic, 11,000 explosive. What's the armor piercing value? Pretty high. Oh, I missed the number again, but whatever. For a 1699mm shell, that's got some pretty heavy numbers. For a gun that fires every 12 seconds. Yeah, that's pretty effective. Let's see here. Got the Tetris going on. Looks like 4 connection Tetris for the most part. Very complicated Tetris. I'm not exactly sure how to parse this in my brain. Looking at this, it's you know, on a flat plane. What's the word I'm looking for? Whatever. I'm not brain dead today, I swear. But anyway, yeah, like a lot of 3 and 4 connection, it looks like. Which is not bad. Let's look at the overall number of connections. 72 explosive, 58 and a half hardening, and 26 ammo. Well, the fire rate at 12 seconds is, for a 1700mm shell, that's about right. That seems about right to me. This is a pretty decent gun. I can't imagine the pain in the butt the Tetrising was for this. With just, it looks really complex, and I can't parse it by looking at it. I can only imagine what it would be like. So let's go ahead and clear the barrels. Let this gun take a shot at my little faux armor scheme over there, and see what happens. Dang it, forgot to turn my repairs off again. And it doesn't even look like they got... They didn't even get through the outer bits there. Are they... 0% of the shells taken up by fuses. Wait, so... Wait. Oh, they've got detection equipment on them. That's cool. So these are unfused. And why couldn't I look at the numbers? I fire it. I push caps lock and it doesn't let me, it doesn't go into the thing, but they're not fused. That seems like a bit of an oversight to me, to not have any sort of fusing on this thing whatsoever. And yes, the detection equipment's not connected because it's not connected to a mainframe. It probably uses a different channel. It probably doesn't use channel 1. But yeah, not having any fuses, you're wasting like all of that kinetic damage. Like you hit the outer block for the like 9k that it builds up, and then you're gonna kill whatever that is, and then your explosion hits what's ever behind it. But you could kill several blocks. That's I mean, as you can see, this little, like this right here was more than enough to just stop the shells in their tracks. That makes them kind of weak. Is that for all of the guns, or did I just happen to pick the one gun that wasn't fused or something? 0% of the shells taken up by fuses. 0%, 0%, 0%, 0%. Yeah, no, they're just not fused. Well, okay then. I wonder what the thought process there, or if it was just an oversight or what. But I think the performance of this vessel could have been improved quite a bit if either you took out the hardening boxes and just made it pure high explosive, or added fuses to actually take part of all of that. Like, okay, now I kind of want to look at what the actual armor, like, what is the armor penetration value? Because it gets pretty high, considering the gauge. About 65. 65 AP, like that's basically wasted because you don't have any fuses. And all that kinetic damage, that's kind of a lot of wasted resources. This could have the performance of these guns could be a lot better if they were either fused or if they were just pure HE rather than having... That's a lot of hardener pellets that basically don't get used because they just hit and explode. But anyway, this has been the Pedro Alvarez Cabral by... Oh, wait a second. I said this was by Xanderzoo earlier when I started this, didn't I? Whoops. No, it's by Ed Necrius. I think I said that earlier when I was ending the video, too. Whoops. Sorry, Ed Necrius. No, this is the Pedro is by Ed Necrius. The Leviathan is by Xanderzoo. I had that backwards. My bad. Just realized that. I'm a dorp. A dorp, yes. I combined derp and dork. Yeah, as you can tell, my brain is not exactly working at 100% capacity today. But anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and end things here before I make a fool of myself even more. So, you know the drill. Down in the comments, upvote the one you agree with, whether you want this thing in the Hall of Beauty or not. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on the battlefield.